Good afternoon, Mental Health Nation. How are we all doing today on this Thursday? Whoop whoop. So as you can see, I'm a little excited today. I'm not too sure why. I don't know why my lighting always looks so perfect, and then when I go on, it looks all crappy. Oh well. I'm not gonna mess with it because if I mess with it, then things will get all screwed up again. But hey, hope everybody's having a great Thursday. If you saw my mental health minute from yesterday, you know that I'm going to take some time off in August. We all need a break every now and then, and that will include the podcast. However, on Wreaths Across America Radio, that we will be replaying some episodes from season one. So super excited about that. We just got a lot of things going on in my life right now with the impending move to Italy. As you guys know, I've talked about it some. The wife got orders to Naples, Italy, so we're planning on moving there. So season 3 of Mental Health Warrior will be in Naples, Italy. So I'm excited about that. And as I travel around Europe, I'll be able to do my podcast in different areas. So that's super exciting. But just like I mentioned before, my podcast is now available on Wreaths Across America Radio. It's Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. It's super easy to find. You just, go to your app store, whether you listen to iTunes or Odyssey or TuneIn app. You just search Wreath, and then Wreaths Across America Radio shows up. You punch that follow button, and you're in, baby. And then it airs on Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays again at 10 p.m. It's the same show. It's the show after this one. So I'm excited about that. I'm super excited to be teamed up with Wreaths Across America. It is truly amazing what they do. And everybody knows about their mission and what they did. Even during COVID, they were still able to complete that. So you see that little QR code in the upper left-hand corner? You can click on that. And you can donate for Wreaths Across America. It's very cheap. I think it's like $5 for a wreath. And you can ensure that a soldier or a service member who served, gets that wreath on their tombstone during the holidays, which is very important, I think. Just so you know that I am in the Arlington Cemetery area, so that's the area that it covers. And so you can, of course, they do them all across the United States, but my area is Arlington Cemetery. Just let everybody know. So if you can, please go up there and donate. If you donate 5 or more wreaths, let me know. You'll have to message me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or wherever you watch this at. And if you let me know, I'll give you a big shout out on the podcast as a huge thanks. For donating, because I think it's really awesome. I know I bought I think 20 the other day. I donated. Just because I just really think it's an important cause, and I appreciate what all they do. Not just playing my podcast, but all the great programming they have on there. Is some really great, awesome programming. But I have to mention, because I just found out today that it just went live. Veterans Trash Talk has now updated their website page. They merged with Gruntworks, as you guys know. So if you have not been on the veteranstrashtalk.com shop page, please log on there now and go there. You'll see the whole new page is completely changed. So I'm super excited about that. Along with that, you can search for all of our great T-shirts. I got season 2 Veterans Trash Talk with the Mustang out there shirt on there. And like I said before on the show, I'm wearing one today. But on the back of it, I put this on the back because I think it's very important. Because we all are warriors. We're worthy to be happy. We're worthy to be here, and everybody matters. And like I talked about last week on the podcast, I was wearing that and actually had a soldier come up, or actually a Marine, correct myself, and thank me for the message I had on the back of the shirt, because he needed to hear that on that day, and so that was pretty awesome. So I'm super stoked about that. I might change the shirt again, get rid of the Mustang, and maybe put a cool warrior on it, or maybe a knight or something with flames throwing out about being a warrior, and just get rid of the Mustang, because I think I'm the only one that loves the Mustang as much. Update on the Mustang: if you've been watching me, I blew a power steering hose, which then in turn led into a spark plug wire breaking. And then I couldn't find the green spark plug wires. So I went with some Ford Racing black wires, went from 8mm to 9mm on spark plug wires. If you're a car guy, you know what I'm talking about. So I have to get it cleaned up. So maybe tomorrow I'll post some pictures of it after I get all cleaned up from the mess of the power steering fluid going everywhere and just me working on it. So I'm excited to get it done. I took it down the road and drove it the other day. It runs a whole lot better. So maybe that's why I'm in a good mood, just because of it. But if you read the message today about and we just do that up there in the chat, the new website. Thanks, Chris, for doing that. Awesome. If you read the tale about today's show, is I really wanted, before I signed off for the month of August, almost the month of August, talk about an issue that I had that I didn't want to admit that I had. And I think that for a lot of people going through mental health issues, whether it's PTSD or whatever it is you're going through, um, that, sometimes we self-medicate, and self-medication isn't, um, I'm not going to say it's always a bad thing, because sometimes I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's in what you're using to self-medicate and how much of that affects your life. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm talking about my personal experience. I'm talking about what I went through. As you guys know, I am no doctor. I'm just a guy that went through a whole bunch of shit in his life and probably shouldn't be sitting here, but for some strange reason I am. And I just have no drive to talk about mental health and issues. So maybe I can help a fellow listener or somebody out there, so they don't go down the same path I went down, because I talk about this a lot. That path is ugly. I know what it looks like. And if you're on that path, and I went from A to Z with as close as getting to Z without completing as you can get, um, I don't want you to get there. I want you to stop at B, right? Maybe C, but I don't want you to go to D, and damn sure don't want you to go to Z like I did. Uh, and so that's why I do the podcast. That's why Veterans Trash Talk does what they do with their shows. Wreaths Across America Radio. That's why they have all their great programming on. We're doing all this to let people out there and get the message out there to people that, hey, it's okay not to be okay. It's funny, I did my ear kick message today, and the little AI panda came up and said, it's okay not to be okay today. And what else did it say? I have to look at my photos real quick. I just thought it was great. Oh yeah, it says it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to put on a brave face all the time, right? That's okay. Yeah, sure. I had my Botox yesterday in my back. The day before, I wasn't just in the best of mood. And so I guess that day I just put on a brave face and just went on. But some days you don't have to. Some days it's okay to be upset. Some days it's okay just to be yourself, or just be you. Right? Now let's talk about it all the time. Just be you. Everybody's different in this world. So, we got September coming up, and of course 9/11. This is my book's out for pre-sales. It'll be available, on September 12th. At the end of the podcast, we'll throw the QR code up for that you can go to my website. You can get the book now through my website, actually. And if you order through my website, I have a block on there you can write out, and I'll be sure and sign the book to you and get it shipped out to you. Within a day or two after you order it. Just depends on the USPS service, and I can ship internationally too if anybody's listening internationally. So it might be a little bit more of a charge there, but yeah, I can ship internationally. But my suicide attempt was related to 9/11. You guys all know that if you listen to my podcast. But as I was going through my issues on after 9/11 happened, I went back home. A year later, they ran the article in the newspaper. I saw the person, crawled over half a part of her body in the Pentagon. I talked about all this. And what did I do to compensate for that? Well, it started out that, I really was never a big drinker. I mean, I would drink, but I wouldn't drink on a consistent basis. But then I started to. And it was a slippery slope, actually. So I started where I would drink, one beer a night, and I really like drinking Smittix or what was the other one? Killigan's, red beer, dark red beer. And then I would drink one at night, and I'd go to bed. And then it started out where I started drinking two a night, and then I started drinking three. And then I switched to start drinking, scotch or bourbon along with it. And then because what I was trying to do, um, hey, what's going on, Brian? How you doing today in Southern Appalachia? Appalachian. I think I just said that wrong. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. But I started drinking more and more. And why? Okay, so why was I drinking? Well, because I was constantly in my mind. Anybody has PTSD related to trauma event, those dreams would always run through my mind, right? And then I would not sleep. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I wouldn't get good sleep. And in my mind, how I could keep myself from remembering those dreams or constantly having those dreams is I was self-medicating and drinking alcohol. The problem is that slope kept getting slippier and slippier. And then you top it off that they were putting me on sleeping medication, the doctor, their psychologist. And now, mind you, I was lying to my psychologist, so he was mistreating me, right? So that was partly my fault, not his. Now, I didn't take any. They prescribed me antidepressants and other stuff, but I didn't take. I didn't. The only thing I took was sleeping pills. I didn't take the other stuff because I'm very anti-medicine. I've always have been my whole entire life. And so, probably mixing the early form of Ambien alcohol probably wasn't the best thing to do. But I got to the point where I wasn't, thinking about my dreams or anything like that. When you start drinking and then you just keep drinking, right? And so after my suicide attempt, and I stopped drinking after my suicide attempt for a while, and then I started up again for no reason other than the fact I like to have a drink every night. And then, I thought I needed to have a drink every night. Let me clarify that. And then it became a habit. And so if you're going through mental health issues or having problems, and maybe you're not in therapy, maybe it's not that serious. And I talk about making little changes. When you add in another variable, sometimes it can throw a wrinkle in your recovery or how fast you recover from that. And I really believe that alcohol played a heavy role in me not getting to recovery as quick as I should have been. Now, I took a lot of alcohol and took a lot of sleeping pills to kill myself. And I talk about that, and you guys know that. And so after my suicide attempt, that's kind of when I stopped drinking, but I went back to drinking. And what I've done this past 2 years, and I talk about this, is, when you're drinking, you think, "Oh, well, I'm not drinking that much," And so I have my mason jar here with me, my green mason jar. See this? And it's funny because it's green, and so you can see through it. So I think it's kind of funny. But this is 12 ounces. So I would fill this up with ice, and then I would fill it up about that much with scotch, and then I would add Disaronno to it because I would drink Godfathers because that's what I would like to drink. And then I would drink one of those, right? But then as the drink melted the ice and it went down, I would add more scotch and or bourbon to it. So then I was drinking more. But in my mind, I said, "Oh, well, I'm drinking less than 12 ounces because it has ice in it." Right. But in reality, I was drinking a hell of a lot more. And so to give you a visual reference, and for you people going to watch this or listen to it on the podcast, I'll tell you how much this is when I pick up this whiskey bottle here. So I found this at a garage sale. And this is a big bottle of scotch, right? It's empty now. I must have filled this thing up 50 times. So you know how many liters this is? Let me see here. Where's it at? This is 4.5 liter scotch bottle. So how many 1.75s does it take to fill it up? 3 plus, right? And I would fill it. And then in about a month and a half, I would empty it. And then I would do it again. Right? So I was lying to myself on how much I was drinking. And so 4.5 liters, that's a hell of a lot of scotch. It cost almost $400 to fill this up every time I did it. So I talk about when I went to the doctor that one time for a physical, and he said to me, he didn't lecture me about drinking, but he said, "Hey, how about half in the amount that you drink, or maybe drink a little less?" Right? And so I did that. And so I went from drinking this at 12 ounces to drinking it at 8 ounces or 6 ounces. And so when I was slowly reducing it, because to me, I didn't notice any different. I felt the same. I still had, I felt that light buzz or relaxing feeling you feel when you're drinking, but you're not drunk, but you're almost to the point of being drunk, right? You guys know what I'm talking about, people that drink. And I would get to that point and I would stop. So anybody who knows me, who's ever drank with me, even to this day, because I still drink, but I don't drink every day, just every now and then. I never get drunk. I drink to the point that I have a slight buzz and then I quit. Whether that now it takes me about one drink and I'm there. But what I realized is that as I reduced the amount of drinking, that my sleep started getting affected. And you thought, well, wait a second. Why would not drinking give you insomnia? And if you Google it, it'll come up. Google the health benefits of stop drinking. It'll go through day one, the first week, the month, and it'll go through all these steps that your body goes through when you have stopped consuming large amounts of alcohol. Now, you have to be careful about that if you've been a hardcore alcoholic for a lot of years, because your body can go in withdrawals, and it can have severe medical consequences. I wasn't to that point. I was probably getting close to that point, but I wasn't to that point. But once I stopped drinking a lot, I really started noticing things changing in my life, both physically and mentally, when I reduced the amount of alcohol that I drank. And I'm talking about when I was drinking 4.5 liters of scotch. But I will take donations on filling it, because I guarantee if I fill that now, it would stay full for a long time. But when you have a drink every night, I didn't realize how much it affected my sleep until I stopped doing it. And then after you get over that hump of the insomnia and not affecting your sleep, then you realize you actually sleep better when you don't drink. And that's something that I've noticed. Now I'll go, oh crap, I'll go months without a drink, or weeks, or like the other day I got the Mustang running, right, and felt really good. And so I just had some 10th Mountain bourbon at my house. I like drinking it. And I just had me a small glass and, watched The Witcher, the new episodes of The Witcher. And if you haven't checked out The Witcher, you need to check it out on Netflix. It's pretty awesome. Big Witcher fan. Watched the cartoon, all that. Anyway, sorry, went on a tangent. But, and that's okay. It's when you're in recovery, or when you're going through something and you're medicating with alcohol to help with your recovery, that never works out well. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And if you can make a small change, if you're that person that's listening to this today, and you're sitting there and you always think you have to have that drink, don't set yourself up with failure by stopping it all at once. Oh, well, Cliff Ballman said this, so I'm not going to drink. No, I'm not going to have a drink. Well, because if you do that, then you have a drink and then you feel bad, right? And then you're already feeling bad because you're going through some crap anyway. And then you make yourself feel bad. That's why my doctor was very smart. He was an old doctor. He's probably in his 70s, old school doctor. And that's why he didn't tell me to quit drinking. He didn't tell me to stop. What he told me to do was reduce what I was drinking by an ounce or 2 ounces a night. And then the next year, he just told me to do it again. And I did it. And then finally you get to the point where you're like, well, what's 2 ounces, 3 ounces out? Well, I'm not even going to have a drink tonight. Right. And then you break the habit. Right. So I had to break the habit. I wasn't medicating with alcohol anymore. I had to break the habit of thinking that I needed to have a drink at night. And most times when I have a drink, it was after the kids went to bed. Right. Lloyd goes to bed around 9:30 at night. He stays up later during the summer. But at school, he goes to bed around 9:30. And that's when I normally would have a drink and watch TV, because that was kind of my relaxing downtime. Very rarely do I ever drink. Oh, I don't drink when the kids are, unless I have company at the house. But even then, I'll try to wait till right before they go to bed, for no reason. It's just how I am. But, I did that for a reason too, because if I started drinking later, then I wouldn't drink as much, because then I'd get tired and go to bed, right? So this was another thing. The problem is, by me drinking later, I had all that alcohol in my system, and it affected my sleep. And so even though I was trying to do the good thing of waiting till later the kids went to bed to have a drink, I wasn't doing myself any justice in doing that, because then I didn't have enough time for that alcohol to make its way far enough out of my body before I went to sleep, and it affected my sleep. And even to this day, like the other day when I was drinking that 10th Mountain bourbon, I didn't, maybe I drank 4 ounces probably, if I had to go back and look. It wasn't very much. Well, it was a lot for me from now, but it tasted good. And, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep bad. I don't know if I slept as good, but it did have a little bit effect on me. But I don't think it had a grave effect on me. But you know what I'm talking about. And so, the point of all this is, and why I'm being honest about, my drinking habits and my problems that I had is I really believe that my road to recovery or my relapses or my depression at certain dates of the year, and you guys know those September 11th, October 3rd, on the boat rescue and other things, that I think my recovery would have went better or smoother had I not kept that habit going. And once you break that habit, um, it's easy if you go back and have a drink. If friends come to town, like Nick and his family was in, and I'd have a drink with them, and but it's easy to go back to it because now it's no longer a habit for me. It's not a habit, so I'm okay to have a drink. I'm okay not to have a drink. It doesn't bother me if I go out and eat sushi. I always drink sake when I'm eating sushi. Because in my mind, I think if there's anything wrong with the fish, then the alcohol or, kill any bacteria that goes down. I know it's stupid, but yeah, I mean, your stomach, the hydrochloric acid in your stomach would literally kill anything if your stomach's operating properly. But that's a whole nother story. But that's okay. I think anything you do within moderations, whether it's food intake, exercise, drinking, I think is okay. It's just when it becomes more than that. And, I know and have friends of mine that they have to have a drink every night. I had friends of mine who sadly would drink from the time they woke up till the time they passed out, not went to sleep. And, it took them a long time to break that habit. Now, for them, for those who've been down that road, it's for them to go back to drinking is they can't do it. It's a no-no. Some people have that addictive personality that, if they've gone through Alcoholics Anonymous or, Drug Anonymous or whatever, and they kick that habit, they can't go back around it. They can't be around people, they can't be associated with it because to them it's a slippery slope, right? And some people like that. Some people just have that. So I say that to say that if you have a friend who has gotten themselves clean and they're around or something like that, just be mindful and respectful of what they've gone through and where they're at in their recovery, and even they're fully recovered. But if they're not drinking or something like that, and that, obviously you want to be, they'll know their limits and what they should and shouldn't do. But I mean, just I'm always cautious with that. And a lot of times if I'm out with a friend and I know that they stopped drinking, then I just won't have a drink because to me, I could care less nowadays. It doesn't, whatever. Now, coffee's a different story. No, I'm just joking. I actually stopped coffee a long time too. I actually went off caffeine for a lot of years, but then I realized that caffeine's actually good for your liver. So that's why I drink coffee now. So I'm surprised I never got a coffee company to sponsor my podcast. Do you think they would have as much coffee as I drink while I'm on my podcast? But who knows? But I'd be curious to know if anybody listening, how did you kick your drinking habit? Or did you kick it? Or do you moderate how much you're drinking? Or do you think you're drinking too much? If that question comes into your mind, maybe I'm drinking too much. You might be, because I thought that too. And then I thought to myself, nah, you're not drinking too much. You're fine. You're not getting drunk every night. You're not passing out. You're not, being a blubbing idiot or whatever, which I wasn't because, I had to take care of the kids. So I never could get to that point. So I always had a limit there, that I had to be able to function at least enough to take care of the children. So I naturally had a stopping point. But, if you don't have that, then what do you do? Right. And so, I hope that anybody out there listening, that if you are trying to make that change in your life, or if you're trying to, cut back on drinking so much, don't beat yourself up over it. Drink a beer less, drink one, if you drink a hard liquor drink, reduce it by a half ounce, reduce it by an ounce, but constantly do that. And I'll tell you that that works. I mean, it was stupid. I would literally measure out my drinks. I had a measuring cup, and I would measure out my drinks because I didn't want to be a liar to the doctor if I went back and told him that I didn't do that. So I knew for a fact that I did that. And drinking out of a mason jar, this one here, you can't see it, but it's got the ounces on the side here, right? And so I could fill it up before I put ice. I would make my drinks prior to the ice to make sure that I had the right amount. And it sounds kind of stupid and trivial, but if you're going to make that change in your life, if you're going to say, hey, no longer will alcohol control my life or affect my life, then that doesn't seem so silly to make sure you're drinking less by measuring it, because else how are you going to know? I mean, good people who run bars, what do they do before and after their shift? They weigh their bottles. Why do they weigh their bottles? To know how much product they sold and whether or not everything was being poured correctly by the bartenders, right? So you weigh your bottles before the shift and you weigh them after. Then you know exactly how much you sold. And so if I'm going to self-monitor myself and be the warrior that I am, that I talk about being, then of course I'm going to do that, because that's the only way I know. Because before I would just say, oh, well, I'm only drinking this amount. It doesn't matter. It's not that much. Once I started measuring it, then I realized that I was drinking a hell of a lot more than I knew, but it kind of gave myself a reality check uh, when I would knew exactly how much I was drinking, you know. And so I think it's important to, if you're in recovery or if you're dealing with, if you're having maybe you're just having a crappy week. 2 weeks ago I was having a crappy week. Um, but what did I say? I was banging my head against the Mustang and I said, no, I'm not this stupid working on cars. I've been around cars all my freaking life. But, I just got it in the mindset, and I went to bed early, and I talked about this on my mental health minute, and, just got a good night's rest. And man, the next day I walked right outside first thing in the morning, and I spent 2 days trying to get this stupid ass spark plug out because I didn't want to. The space between the header and the spark plug was very narrow, and I didn't want to have to pull the exhaust off on that side just to tighten up a spark plug. And I wind up ordering a thin spark plug wrench to get it in, and it worked, and I was able to get it tight. But I was racking my brain and staying up late, and I just couldn't get the mental clarity I needed to really focus on getting that fixed. And to some people that may sound stupid, but I'm the type of person that I'm gonna try to fix something myself until it gets to a point where I just can't do it before I pay somebody to do it. And that's how I am. Whether I can afford it or not, I'm gonna take the first attempt at fixing it. And if I pay for you to fix something of mine, I'm gonna watch you how you did it, or I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions because I want to know how you did it. I do the same thing with the doctors. When I go to the doctor, or if I see a therapist or a counselor, I ask them very poignant questions. Okay, if I do this, what's the benefit of me doing that? Right? If I, Cliff Ballman, drink less alcohol, what's the benefit that I'm going to see from it? Right? Because you got to see benefit from it. And that's why I always said, Google the health benefits of drinking, or when you stop drinking, and read that. You'll be very surprised. I was. And so as I started reducing my drinking, I noticed changes in myself, and I noticed that I was able to get more things done. But also, when I was going through therapy and stuff, and I was being honest with my therapist and doing all those things, and all the years I've been to counseling, I really think that learning to be honest with yourself, truly honest, no BS here. Just like the drinking. I wasn't honest with myself. I was lying to myself. I was drinking way the hell too much, and I was probably a freaking alcoholic, and I didn't want to admit to it, right? Truly be honest with yourself. Truly be honest with what's going on in your life, and look at that. And then decide what change are you going to make. Whether it's a big change, whether it's a little change, and just like Brian just says, you can't fix your problems with alcohol, and he's right, you can't, but it's hard to deal rationally with problems when you're not drinking. I get that, but it's a hard thing to do, to be completely honest with yourself. 'Cause I'm telling you right now, it's not always somebody else's fault. All the crap that went on in your life and all the crap that went on in my life, you got to quit blaming other people. I tell this all the time. After you turn freaking 18, you got to quit blaming your parents for the way you turned out, because it's all on you. You can choose what to do. I moved out of the house when I was 17. So don't tell me you can't make it or you can't do things differently, because you can if you choose to, you know. And so that's a little reality check here on Real Talk. You can't always be everybody else's fault. And I've had friends like that, and I've had, other people that always want to blame other people for their problems and where they're at. Well, my answer to that is, well, you older than 18, and why you keep blaming other people for your problems and crap? Because you can't do that. You got to take a little self-responsibility, and you got to be honest with yourself. Because if you don't, and you always play the victim, you're never going to get better. You got to own your stuff, own your crap, own it, deal with it, be a warrior about it, get over it, get the help that you need, help others that are around you, and just realize, it's okay not to be okay some days, and, go find something that you enjoy to do to replace something that you thought gave you joy. And so in the end run, alcohol's not giving you that joy. Alcohol is just making you not think about whatever it is you don't want to think about. Um, and so you got to fix that and then start dealing with the alcohol problem. Now, I had to break the habit of alcohol, and it wasn't easy to do, but I did it. And now I don't, you know, people will tell you come visit my house, you stay here long enough, there might be one night that I drink with you, and I may not drink again with you while you're at the house. I just may not. It's just how I am. Or I may drink with you every night you're at the house. I don't, it just depends how I feel. I just don't feel the need that I have to do it every day anymore. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I really, I was so proud of myself last year on 9/11. And I don't know if you guys remember this. You can go back and watch the podcast, because I'm pretty sure I talked about it. But that was the first time in 20 years that I didn't drink, or 19 years, I didn't drink on 9/11. I didn't have a drink at all. And so I was proud of myself over that, because that's something that I had never done before. And so to me, that was a milestone, right? And so I broke the habit of drinking. And because I was able to break that habit, this next habit I had to break was drinking on dates that reminded me things that triggered me. And not that I wouldn't not never drink on 9/11. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that was the first time that I told myself I wasn't going to drink on that day, and I didn't. And I was happy about it. And so for me, that was a win for me to do that. And I think I'm proud of myself for that. And will I drink on this 9/11? I don't know. I might. Or I might not. I don't know. But the mere fact that I know that I can, and I know that I don't have to, right? And that's no longer affects my life in that manner, makes me feel good about myself. And that was a long journey. And I think sometimes for people who are going through a lot of stuff, we forget to appreciate the small wins, and we focus too much on the goal, the end. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And just know that if that first wind's 10 yards out and the next wind doesn't come for 1,500 meters, that's okay. But eventually you'll get to the end, and so, and be happy about the small wins. And if you have a loss every now and then, it's okay. Any fighters will tell you about that. It's always, just like Brian just said, it's always one day at a time. And some days are great, some days are bad. So hang in there. Things are going to get awesome. I know we got school starting coming up. That's stressful for a lot of parents, and with the expense of that and everything, I get that. My son's getting ready to go back to his second year of college. Lloyd's getting ready he'll start his school, but then he'll switch to the school in Italy. So he's going to have a rough beginning to his year, but it is what it is. And we explained everything, and he's going to deal with it. But hey, I want to thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great August as I take the next couple of weeks off. But if hey Chris, if you want to throw that up there right now, I'm going to throw up the QR code for my book. This is the link to my website, so you can take your camera out. You can click on that. And you can order the book. I do have them 20% off. You will have to pay shipping, which I think is $8 or $9. Just depends where you live. And that's automatically calculated on the system when you put in your zip code. I don't have anything to do with that. But hey, I just want to say thanks for everybody. Please go out to veteranstrashtalk.com, visit the new shop. They did a lot of great work. Their website's pretty awesome. And so glad to be part of them. And be sure and check out my show on Wreaths Across America Radio on Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. It's super easy to find. Just download your favorite radio app or whatever app you listen to radio on, whether it's iHeartRadio app, Odyssey app, or TuneIn app, and just search for Wreaths Across America. And then once again, up on the left-hand of the screen, you have the QR code for Wreaths Across America if you want to donate $5 to a wreath and ensure that a service member has that wreath on their tombstone at Christmas. But hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I look forward to getting back to you guys in September. I might do a show at the end of August. I haven't decided yet. I got a guest coming on, so I may reschedule that, or I may go ahead and just try to do it. But hey, you guys have a great month of August. It's been fun. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see all you guys in September. Take care.